You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. I'm Bill McIntyre here with Jon Gallo, bringing you news stories about Long Island and about Long Islanders. Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of this week's Long Island News. And John and I have a guest with us today, a very special guest, Dr. Jessica Rosati, who is the Chief of Programs and Services for Long Island Cares. And we'd like to welcome you to the show, Jessica, and thank you for and for all you do. And hopefully we're going to hear about a lot of that. So maybe you can just bring us up to speed on where you're at this moment in time, because I'm sure there are quite a few people who are availing themselves of your services.
Yeah. In good times, I know there's a lot of work to be done, but now with everything going on with COVID, we know the challenge has been immense. So if you want to start just by, again, giving an overview of how the agency has responded to it. We know, according to the numbers, and I know the comptroller had put out a report recently saying from Nassau, rather, that, Long Island Cares had been serving over, I think, 10 million meals since the pandemic had started. And I know that's over, I think, about almost 500,000 of people, our fellow neighbors out here who that individually impact. So you could just maybe go big picture, and then we'll kind of get into the weeds a little bit more about, the need for funding and policy and other things like that.
The best way to begin is to really kind of give you an overview about food insecurity. So Long Island Cares is the regional food bank for Long Island. Historically, we provide a network of food pantries, soup kitchens, and sheltered programs with emergency food. That's at the core of what Long Island Cares does and what has done for the past 40 years. As the regional food bank, we have a responsibility to respond in any crisis that comes to pass, right? So typically those relate directly to natural disasters, things that we cannot control, hurricanes, floods, storms, things like that, anything that can impact an individual's ability to provide their basic necessities for themselves, right? Yep. So that's, at the core of what we do and what we continue to do. Pre-COVID, we estimated, there was a little under 300,000 people who were food insecure living on Long Island. So those are people that were reliant on the food pantry network, coming to, our food pantries, our direct programs, utilizing our services to meet the basic needs for their families. What we've seen post-COVID has been this astronomical increase of people coming to the regional food bank for an emergency assistance. And these are people not previously known to the food bank because they were able to sustain for themselves independently. So, they were working. And unfortunately, this virus, I think for us, created a challenge that I don't think any nonprofit was prepared for. And what I mean by that is there was no way to assess immediately, what impact this would have. So, on March 13th, I recall sitting, on my couch watching the evening news and, realizing, oh boy, things are about to get real serious. And, administratively, we sat down that following Monday and immediately started action. And in doing so, the very first things that we had to do was to assess our capability, assess the capability of our staff. We have a very small team here. At the time, we had just about 49 staff members. So if you think about the magnitude of what we do, that's peanuts. And we knew that what was coming down the pike was going to tremendously impact our ability to serve. So we had to assess the ability of our staff. Who can work? Who needs to be at home? How do we keep the operation going without even looking at our agencies yet? So in doing that, we looked at our staff, the skills that we have, and what we needed. One of the best things, I think, and I'm biased because I run our programs, but one of the best things, in my opinion, that Long Island Cares does is our direct programming. I have 8 mobile units that go out to various communities throughout Long Island. I run school pantry programs in 2 very big districts on the island that have tremendous need. And then I have tailored programs for high-risk populations, seniors, homeless, children, veterans. So, we had to look at that and say, well, we can't stop. We have a responsibility to serve. So what do we need to do to make sure that our staff are equipped with what they need to be safe and to be able to serve efficiently? So in doing so, we made a very conscious decision before we even embarked that we weren't stopping. We weren't closing our programs. We weren't altering, the integrity of serving because we knew that people were going to meet us. And I think in doing so gave us that second piece where we were able to assess the capacity of our agency, of our network. In the beginning, we estimate like 300 community programs on Long Island, but that could be one organization that has 16 food pantries. So there's a lot of network on Long Island, which is a beautiful thing, right? So, no matter what, Long Island has support, and Long Islanders genuinely care about each other, which I think is beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's in the name. And I think it's more true than ever to show that caring, not just in words, but in action. And like you said, it's not just the people who depend on you from the direct services that they see with the Long Island Cares banner, but it's all the other small community church food pantries, community groups, wherever it may be, that they don't see that it's actually Long Island Cares. That's the distribution network. But that community is dependent on that local site, for whatever reason. So it has been amazing. And like you said, I know we talked about this bill with other elected officials and other agencies. The fact that normally when you, like you said, prepare to have to deal with the kind of disaster, it's a little bit more acute. It comes, you deal with it, you crisis manage, and then it kind of goes away. But this has been this ongoing kind of continue. Yeah, exactly. Year long at plus situation, it seems it'll be. So, like I said, it's no small feat. And I know it was reported again about a 74% increase, I think, year over year from March to September. And what you guys saw directly on the ground. And, that's as good as a source as anyone, because you guys are there. The elected officials work with you. It's good to see that there's bipartisan support. It's one thing that we can all agree on, that we want to see people get the care that they need. And it's not just like you said, the food services, which obviously you're known for, but it's the linkage to other human services, whether it be maybe homeless, kind of services or whatever it may be, that they can kind of come to you. And you guys have built up that network and the connections to help any community member try to get the help that they need further. So that's great. Thank you again for doing that. And thank you for explaining it so concisely. Again, kind of where we stand right now.
I am very specific. That's why I run programs.
Oh, yeah. No, that is a good thing. That's what we like to see. I like the data. I am always a fan of hard numbers and then giving a qualitative kind of, a face to it. So definitely, like I said, we're happy that you're here. And we know, too, that we're coming off the heels of Thanksgiving. Everyone kind of thinks of, this is a time to be grateful for what you have and to be grateful. And maybe a lot of people would like to kind of have acts of thanks and, usually like to volunteer at food pantries. But I know a lot of community members, and that's been an issue this whole time, where it's tough to kind of draw on those normal volunteers that have been dependable because of, like you said, health concerns or whatever it may be. And it was Giving Tuesday, just this Tuesday. But that's why we wanted to have you on, too, to know that this isn't just a, kind of around the holidays issue. This is a 365, as long as time has gone on and probably continues kind of issue. So, we wanted to have our listeners and Long Island hear, why that is such an important need. Again, always should be front of mind. So, all right, I guess if you want to talk about that a little bit more, too, and the importance maybe of specifically volunteer services, trying to, again, maybe bridge that gap and also bridge the gap of funding for things like, again, Giving Tuesday and stuff like that.
Sure. Volunteers, first and foremost, are the success of our programs. 100%, hands down. We could not do what we do without volunteer support. And I think we're very fortunate because Harry Chapin founded Long Island Cares. And Harry Chapin, for your listeners who are like, who? Look him up.
Yeah, Bill knows him. Bill's a musician. Definitely.
But beyond a musician, beyond a folk singer, he was an advocate. He was an advocate for people who did not have a voice for themselves. And he founded Long Island Cares to continue that voice. And personally, I think Harry probably is turning over in his grave that 40 years later, since his passing, we're still fighting that fight where, hunger to Harry Chapin was an insult to the American people. It really is. And in all honesty, and in my heart, I don't believe anybody should ever have to have that feeling of not being able to feed themselves or their families. And, because of, I think, our mission, because of the way we lead our organization and try very hard to empower the people around us, I think volunteers resonate with that. And I think because of that, we've had such a very easy time getting people to buy in and to support our initiatives, our programming, and the people that we serve. It's funny, I run volunteers, and I was doing my monthly numbers just prior to our call, and in the month of November, we had 284 new volunteers sign up. So volunteers are signing up. They want to give back. We find now that people who are out of work or who have, become recipients of our services, and then, we're kind of getting back into the swing, getting back into a new normal, wanting to give their time again just to, reciprocate that giving, which is a beautiful thing. It really is. But with that said, we have to be safe, and the safety of our staff, our volunteers, and most importantly, those folks that rely on us are our main priority. And because of that, we have to be very cautious. And we yield, directly from what the governor and the CDC and the Department of Health are telling us in regards to safe ways to engage the public in giving back. So we have altered some of the ways that we, take volunteers in. We allow them to participate with us, all the while still trying to give people the opportunity to give back. And that's where I think volunteering really segues nicely into donating, because I think when some folks think about donating to a nonprofit, they automatically think money. And sure, everybody loves money. Money's green. Money's green. It gets us to buy things. When we have money, we can do things. Money's great. But as equally valuable as money is to us, people's time, their awareness, their advocacy, there's so many other entities that surround volunteering that can, give people the opportunity to give to us without physically having to pick up a can and putting it in a bag. So, I think what's important is that if someone is like, I really just see all this around me and want to do something, and I just don't know what, call us. Go onto our website. See all the different opportunities that we have for you to volunteer. It stinks that we can't, throw a great concert right now, that we can't, host a ginormous 2-week food drive with, some of our local radio groups. It's unfortunate that we can't do that, but we've certainly found other ways for people to give back and to get involved. And, I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't exist. Long Island Cares doesn't exist, and the people that we serve don't get served without the support of Long Islanders, without volunteer support. Like, they are the true key to getting people fed.
Definitely. All about community, all about mutual aid. Let's just remind our listeners that they are listening to this week's Long Island News, and we are here with Jessica Rosati, the Chief Programs Director of Services for Long Island Cares. Go ahead, Bill.
Dr. Rosati, what's the phone number people can call you at?
It's the easiest number in the universe, Bill. 631-582-FOOD.
That's a good one.
3663.
Yep, you definitely don't let that number go away.
No.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and like you said, it's definitely a big gap to bridge. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm just curious, during normal times, Long Island Cares was responsible for feeding, I don't even know the numbers, but it has to have exploded at this point. Or where do you get enough food in to be able to? Is it working?
That was a problem.
That would drive me crazy.
So I will tell you, in the beginning of the pandemic, like every single food bank in the nation, there's 200 of us. We all experienced significant delays in the food chain. But this happened all along, not only affecting food banking, but just the general circuit of purchasing. Think about your supermarkets in the beginning. Were you finding toilet paper? No, you weren't. Right. People were hysterical, and with a good reason. I get it, totally get it. So we did experience that in the beginning, and there were a few times where we were like, are we going to be able to do this? But by the grace of God, we did. And now we're in a position where, all along we knew that some type of second wave or whatever they're calling it now, we knew that was a possibility, that it was going to come down the pike. And, we wanted to make sure that we were prepared, and 150% are we prepared. On average, just to give you an average, the food bank distributes about 10 million pounds of food a year. Right.
Wow.
And that 10 million pounds goes to various food pantries for distribution to meet that just under, it's like 272,000 people who are food insecure. Right. Mm-hmm. What we've seen post-COVID is an increase of about 170,000 new people that are coming to the food pantry network. So now that number has, exploded into the 400,000 people range, which is sick. If you think about that number, that's huge.
Yeah.
But think about all the folks that were impacted. Look at our music industry. Look at our restaurant industry, our hospitality industry. All these industries that have been severely impacted, and people are now unemployed or furloughed or getting a piece of unemployment. It's not enough when you live on Long Island. It's just not. And that's just the reality. So post-COVID, we actually just ran the numbers because after Thanksgiving, things quiet down for us significantly. So we're able to kind of reassess and prepare for the new year. And to date, so it's December 4th, we've brought in and distributed 16 million pounds of food. That's an increase of 6 million. That's tremendous.
Wow.
That's tremendous. And right now, if you walk into my warehouse, I have over 1 million pounds of food. So it's ready. We're ready.
Yep.
We're ready.
That's incredible.
It goes too.
And,
that's incredible.
Fortunately, we're in a position now where the 90, if not 95% of the agencies we support, those food pantries, those soup kitchens, they're open. So, I think out of everybody, I think I have maybe a dozen still closed, but we're open. So people have access. There's enough food on Long Island for nobody to go hungry.
I'm kind of curious now. The organization operates largely on donations, but do you get state or federal funding too? I mean,
that's a huge misconception, Bill, about food.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely you need that funding.
Yeah.
So the majority of the food that a food bank distributes is purchased. And we're able to do that because as the regional food bank for Long Island, we have a contract with the Department of Agriculture to administer the Emergency Food Assistance Program, where federal food commodities are offered to the food bank for purchase. And we're able to purchase them, get them on our shelves, and get them out to our agencies. We also have a contract with the Department of Health, New York State Department of Health, called the Hunger Prevention Nutrition Assistance Program. HIPNAP is the acronym. Okay. And that also provides us funding to purchase nutritious foods to then give out to those people who need it. So those are the two very large contracts that we have in place to purchase food. And then we get a tremendous amount of support through the private sector, public sector, and then community donors. Community food drives account for probably about 18% of the food we distribute. The rest is purchased.
Yeah.
Right.
And
wow.
Like you said,
I'm just thinking about the, the financial atmosphere out here on the island.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to get better very soon. So that not only affects the people who can volunteer and donate,
right.
I'm also thinking about Thanksgiving and that 14-day window that they talk about. So we may not have seen the peak of that, so whatever surge is coming from, all the families that shouldn't have gotten together and did.
Well, you know what? This is a very challenging time, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
Because, you can't look forward, you can't predict, you can't anticipate. The only thing that you can do from a programming perspective is know what you do well, make sure that you have what you need in order to meet any surge that, comes about. But in doing so, ensuring that you maintain the safety of the people giving that food and receiving that food. So there's a lot of factors that contribute, and I've had a lot of discussions in the past couple of weeks with folks about, well, Jessica, what do you see the needs being come January 1? I can't foresee the future.
Yeah,
all I can say is that from an organization, Long Island Carers is in a position to be able to serve. I have no concern whatsoever that, worst case scenario, Long Island has to pump its brakes and people have to stay home for a little bit or, just alter the way that they're living for a little while until, things kind of subside. We can assist them. And, we've been very fortunate that in the past 8 months, we've had a slew of donors come to us, new donors, existing donors, that just saying, hey, listen, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about, what are you doing? What have you had to change? What are you in need of? Our organization went from 50 staff members. We hired 34 temporary staff to equip us with what we needed to meet this increased need. So, we're in a better position now than I think we've ever been in. I'm super crazy sad, honestly, because I'm human service at heart, that we have to do this. But I am incredibly humbled and incredibly grateful that we have this opportunity and we have this platform to be able to serve. And that I know personally, when I was running our Freeport location yesterday, I served 63 families yesterday in Freeport between an 8-hour window. And every single family left with a shopping cart full of food and personal care items and pet food. And we're just eternally grateful that they have somewhere to go that's safe, that is clean, that they are treated with kindness and integrity. Yep. Like, those are the things that matter. That, yes, right now the world is heavy, man. It's heavy and nobody can predict anything. But when we have each other and we have that compassion, nothing beats it.
Oh, yeah. No, like you said, that's an amazing sentiment. And I think that really rings true. And let's remind our listeners again that they are listening to this week's Long Island News here with Bill and I, and with Jessica Rosati, Dr. Jessica Rosati, Chief of Programs and Services at Long Island Cares. And yeah, I think you really hammered an important point there, the importance of empathy and dignity. And we know for a long time, for a lot of different reasons, social services, human services at times have been stigmatized, and the ability to, of course, to access these programs, a lot of times they were means tested. A lot of times they were just kind of barriers. And, again, some of that was policy, some of that was a little bit political. But regardless of any of that, it's important to see, that there are, again, these programs that are there. Obviously, like you mentioned, the USDA programs, but also I know there was the CARES Act that came in this year, and there was also the Nourish New York initiative. You want to talk a little bit
recipients of both?
Yep, about how those also played in and how those additional programs. I know we'll talk a little bit about SNAP too. I know that's an important matter that obviously plays into like a lot of other programs, but specifically those two. Can you say how those actually, manifested in a logistical kind of benefit for your clients?
Absolutely. CARES funding has been amazing for us because it afforded us opportunities to create really cool, innovative things with local government. We received a grant of almost $2.4 million from the town of Hempstead to provide emergency food distribution programs. In the past 8 months, we created 17 of them that have been serving people weekly with food. Those programs, the majority of them are slated to close at the end of the year, but we're going to work really hard to keep a few of them open. We've transitioned many that have been able to sustain during this time really well and help a lot of people. We've transitioned them to member agencies, so this way they can continue into the new year and beyond with the support that they need. And CARES was huge in that. So we did that in Nassau. And then in Suffolk, we also received some funding to do home delivery, which was a very cool initiative that came out of local government, where they wanted us to equip the towns in Suffolk County with emergency food boxes. So if someone called Suffolk County's information hotline and he needed emergency food, they were able to get routed to their respective town, and the town was equipped to provide help. And that, seeing these types of things come about, and it's all about innovation. Exactly. And when you have the funding to be innovative, that's amazing, because that's a programmer's dream. Because then it's like, oh my God, we can do anything. Let's go. And you get so fired up. And we've been able to meet so many people where they're at. And that's what Long Islanders need. I've always said Long Island is such a beautiful home. And anybody who lives here, man, we are hardcore Long Islanders. We love our island. Oh, yeah. But the reality is, although we're suburban and landscaped, we have very real urban poverty issues.
Food desert.
These issues can cripple people and their ability to live independently. So I think what we have been able to get done, and I'm super happy that we were able to give them those opportunities. We've been able to do a lot of really great things. So CARES was a big piece of that. New York Nourish came about through the governor's office, and that's been great for us because that stimulated the businesses on Long Island that were suffering. Yep. And twofold giving back to New Yorkers. Exactly. So it's been really, really great. And what we focused really hard about with New York Nourish was produce and just that fresh product, because we wanted people to continue to have that opportunity to choose healthy for their family.
And I know families that they always, having been involved with food pantries myself and, the Nest on campus and other agencies, it's always something that you see that, yes, people think of, the tuna fish and people need their proteins and things that are shelf stable for a long time. But when you see those fresh produce, things that, a lot of times organic fresh produce that you might not be able to afford in your store, and now you can bring that home to your family. I know, again, a lot of times your agency and other organizations, they have like recipes and things that they can kind of just make it feel, it's no different than a shopping experience. Like you said, it's closing the loop too of what would potentially be food waste and just further contributing to the cycle that we're all trying to obviously break here. So, like you said, it's great to see that a program like that can happen. And, it would be nice if it didn't have to just happen during a pandemic, for every 100 years. But just knowing that maybe since the framework's there. Exactly. Okay. So exactly. So it can continue and just kind of, be part of the solution long term, not just during an individual acute crisis like we mentioned before. I guess. Let's see. We'll segue in a second, but staying on that, just for a moment. I know, like we said before, thankfully you have seen support from both Republican and Democrat legislators throughout the island. We see that everyone wants to do more for the community, and constituent services has really been kind of, I think, the main factor of what, kind of electeds have been called to do here. And, having a background in that myself, working for the state government in a capacity, I know that, our office, we're in Queens, but other legislators, they rely so heavily on the networks that the nonprofits like yours have there pre-built, because again, it's a hard thing to reinvent the wheel. So why do it? Why not just work with some agency that's been here, like you said, for as many decades, serving the community, has a great track record. So I guess, do you want to talk maybe about that in terms of the discussion for further federal funding, whether it be, again, like we said, for SNAP, for I know there's been some changes too to maybe hopefully allow access to college students, maybe not the SNAP benefits, and where being the community college. A lot of times we think about other vulnerable populations, and those are very important that you mentioned. But even college students, other groups that can fall into the gaps. You want to talk again about why it's so important for that federal funding to come in at the high levels, especially with the stimulus being discussed.
Think about Lyndon Johnson. He created all of these anti-poverty programs, such as SNAP. These programs have not changed since implementation. That's a problem in itself. And so when you think about systemic issues, that's the issue. So for the fact now that, the federal government is looking at this with a new lens because they have to, is a really exciting thing for anybody who looks at politics and need and human service, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's great opportunity here to start looking at things that all along kind of made sense, but just maybe didn't tie in, and really advocate for that. So, nonprofits have to walk a very thin line. We have lots of guidelines, on what we can and cannot do and how we could really advocate for our needs. And we can't lobby. We just can't. We don't. It's really not in our nature. However, we have a responsibility to the people we serve. And who else does? Our local delegation.
Yeah.
We have a ethical responsibility to serve their constituents. And Long Island Cares has, really, I think, done a very good job in getting people at the table and getting them to understand the issues in their community, the issues that their constituents are facing, and becoming a voice for that. We have a tremendously talented government affairs and policy staff member here who writes all of our positions on legislation, and who he and I travel to Albany with a couple times a year and meets with our local officials and brings them aware and up to speed on what we're doing, what those numbers really look like in their community, and what they can do in their position to help advocate for that. So I have to tell you that anybody that I've ever encountered, politically or not, has always listened with an open ear. And that's really all you want. You want people to be able to listen with that open ear. So this way, when something is brought up to the table, they could say, oh, wait a second, I'm familiar with that. And matter of fact, I actually have statistics that go with that. And what can we do about this? So, a lot, I think, of what we do, and I think it's our job as human service professionals, is education. Yep. And educating people on what the issues really are and what really makes sense in meeting those. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful on what's going to come to pass in the next couple of months. I'm hopeful that, things change for people who need it the most, because I think everybody deserves a shot at having the best life possible. So,
yeah, I was kind of wondering what Harry Chapin would have thought is, because initially I'm sure he put Long Island Cares together to help out. Did he think am I naive to think that he thought it was only going to be a short time thing?
That's exactly
it's going to last forever.
Yeah.
And you guys, you're out there, so you really have your fingers on the pulse of actuality, not statistics, and not we think this might be. We see it every day. These families come in and tell us these stories.
Every day. I'll tell you a couple of things about Harry Chapin, Harry Chapin's family. Number one, my anniversary is Harry Chapin's birthday. So on Monday, which is Harry Chapin's birthday, I will be at Long Island Cares for 11 years. And my first year here, my very first Christmas party, Sandy Chapin walked up to me. Sandy Chapin is Harry Chapin's wife, widow. And she said, hey, Jessica, how's it going? And I almost fell on the floor. Because I grew up listening to his music and being inspired about his legacy. And, the fact that his wife was, my God, as humble as we all learned about was just astonishing. And it was that time that I was like, I'm home. And, 11 years later, I've had tremendous opportunities to work with all the Chapins. Sandy still sits on our board. His brother Tom has done children's concerts for us for free. Jason is constantly putting us in contact with people where he thinks there's synergy. Jen has performed for us. So the family is just so giving. It's their nature. It's what they do. And, we've said all along, Harry did not intend for Long Island Cares to be a staple on Long Island. He recognized a need in Huntington. He started this organization out of a van feeding folks in Huntington. I still got that van, and I have 8 more, and I'm still feeding people in Huntington and everywhere else. So, it's sad, but that goes back to, what we said about anti-poverty programs. If they don't change to meet the needs of people as we evolve, then we're always going to have these issues. And more importantly, Harry Chapin started our organization by understanding that unless you address the root causes of hunger and poverty, people will remain impoverished. And that is why we have 21 direct service programs that go beyond the provisions of food. If you're hungry, I want to feed you, Bill. I want to feed you, John, but I want to understand why you're hungry, because I want to know in my heart that when you leave my doors, you know exactly what to do, not only to feed your family today, but how to feed them ongoing. Yeah. And we're going to continue to do that for as long as we're able to.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a real beautiful thing. I agree. Because, you think about it, what would have to be, undone or redone in order to bring 400,000 people into food security, and it's not because the food isn't there.
Food's there.
Yeah.
It's always been the problem. I remember back in the 70s, the first concert that I ever went to was George Harrison's Bangladesh concert.
Oh my God, I probably would have been awesome.
And we slept on the sidewalk overnight to get the tickets for that. You don't do those kind of things anymore. But and the sad part about it is, it was such a success. It raised so much money and resulted in so much food, but the food never got to the people that needed it.
That stinks.
It was horrible when those stories started to come out that politics and dictators and that whole stopped to what would have been. I mean, and it was still a great thing that he did it, and it illustrated, I think, a really good point, but you guys, I think you guys are incredible. I really do. If I could give you the biggest Christmas present, I would.
Well, I know somewhere you can make a donation, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, we've got to start, and we'll mention it certainly to everybody. It's really good to know that, but again, even Harry didn't want this to be a forever thing. Which is, and I think that's one of the greatest services that you guys do. You see what's going on, and you can kind of tweak. You can go in and talk to a leader and say, "Hey, you guys you're pointing your money all at this. No, you need to do some of this." That's great.
Problem.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. And then of course you get thrown a curve like the coronavirus, and like you said, you really can't anticipate so many things. So you guys, you turn out to be a fire department, and you're putting out fires.
Yeah, but in that sense, it gives you, for lack of a better terms, it gives you leverage because the electeds, they know that they need you, and the community needs you. So again, they take your word not as just some kind of, maybe I think this, but like you said, this is what we're seeing. This is what our community needs. This is what we do. So trust us. And seeing that you guys deal with the ramifications of other, like you said, social inequities that are longstanding, other systemic kind of problems. We talk about a lot, Bill and I, the idea of the minimum wage and not being kind of kept up with the rate of inflation over the decades. Like we said, policy that's outdated with the kind of initial SNAP and other programs where, again, these other issues, they all have an effect. They all have an impact. And you see that these people wind up having to rely on some other resource since they don't have the income to, like we said, to go buy that nice fresh produce at Whole Foods, like maybe the person who has a little bit more privilege can. So, like I said, it really is amazing, and it's not lost on us, and I hope it's not lost on any of our listeners or anyone who comes in contact with anyone who happens to be serviced by, again, Long Island Cares, or for that matter, Island Harvest, or any of the other local agencies that are really doing that good work. And with the little time that we have left here, and again, let's remind our listeners that they are listening to This Week's Long Island News, and Bill and I are here with Jessica Rosati, again, Chief of Programs and Services of Long Island Cares. So again, Dr. Rosati, with maybe a little bit of that time, with that doctor title. Maybe I believe it's not PhD, it's DR. So could you maybe just speak?
PhD.
Oh, it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to put you on the spot and give you a little bit of public health in terms of the vulnerable populations, because I'm sure you can still speak to it in a general sense. But, knowing, with all these health concerns, the need for food, not just in the abstract, but in the physiological, the need for children during the development phases, the need for elderly community members, the need for folks, who may be living in a kind of housing insecurity. During a pandemic, you need your health. You need less stress. You need to not be worrying about where your food is coming from on a daily, hourly basis. So you want to talk about a little bit about that, again, in terms of, how it really is serving the health needs, again, in that kind of way.
There's always been a correlation between health and food. Always.
Of course. Yeah.
Always.
Physiologically, yeah.
And I want to say probably in the past 5 years, you've seen a little bit more literature. You probably learned a little bit more in school and on campus, and your listeners have too, about the social deterrents of health.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. So, we recognize that if people are impoverished, a lot of times the biggest thing that falls to the wayside is what they're consuming. Yeah. And that could be for a number of different reasons, mainly because they don't have the funding to do so. And so I think that's evident. I think people understand that. I think what's important for listeners to know is that food banking, when you purchase food, so I have 2 nutritionists on staff. They oversee every single thing we bring in here. They're making sure, and especially because of the contracts that we have, they're making sure that the things that we're bringing in are low sodium, they're low sugar, they're very hearty, lean protein.
Yeah. Nutritional density.
Right. They're as fresh as can be. So we're not what you will call a turned down food bank. And what that means, if, Coca-Cola changes their label or wants to donate, a trailer of Coke, soda, we won't turn it away, because it doesn't mean people don't want it. I'm a firm, hard believer that, everybody should have what they'd like within moderation. But I think what's important is that people are given access to healthy, nutritious foods. Yeah. And the food bank can do that. So for anybody listening that, maybe it's on the cusp, maybe is not so sure, like, do I really want to do this? I don't want to fill my cupboards with crap. You're not. You're going to come, you're going to get a well-balanced, nutritionally balanced food package of food items that are healthy for you. And if you don't know what to do with them, we're going to give you recipes. Like, we're going to really empower you to make those right choices for your family.
Now, I would imagine there are quite a few people who this is the first time that they're being exposed to, oh, you mean this is good for me and this is a balanced meal? And, there's been a lot of talk about, they tell us, you should have 3 meals a day. And a lot of those things were told to us by people who sell food.
Yeah, you're right.
Industry group,
none of which are doctors, or they're all interested in the profit line. So you're also, not only are you educating leaders about some of the things that are going on right under their noses, the idea of food insecurity, to me, and I'm an old guy, but it's relatively new. You didn't hear that term a lot.
Right.
Back in the 70s or even the 80s and the 90s.
Growing up, I had no idea. No idea. And we were a family who suffered, and we had no idea.
Yep. So, hopefully this show, we have a decent audience. They'll hear about you. And John and I, now that we've spoken to you, we'll be talking about it a lot. So I think it's great and sad at the same time.
Yeah. But it is making, of course. But it's trying to, find a silver lining, and it's trying to make do, and, trying to give people the support they need when we're going through tough times, to know that they're not alone, to know that, again, there is a community, and that, at its core, there is some kind of social contract, we'd like to think, in this country that we all love, and in our, kind of local area, that people shouldn't, have to go home homeless, for that matter, but go, obviously without a meal if there's an alternative. And there's lots of great organizations There's the Inn in Hempstead. There's all these types of regional partners that are there that, can just try to, again, be some type of bridge gap or, be a part of your life, whatever it may be. But to know that there are options, there are resources out there. It's just about linking people to them.
And what's the website? What's the website too, Dr. Rosati?
As easy as our phone number, licares.org.
Oh, yeah, no, they're really good. They got the Long Island Cares on Twitter. I know that you guys are on, I think, most of the social media platforms. You can find them on Facebook, I think Instagram, wherever you can. I'm not sure if they're TikTok yet. They might be ahead of us on that curve. But wherever you can, definitely Google them and find out and follow them.
One of the things I wanted to ask, too, oftentimes I play in bands. I'm a musician. So, and a lot of times not now, but previously, we would have a band night, and we would tell people to bring some canned food. It can't be a bad thing, but is it really worthwhile? Does that generate enough?
If it generates awareness, though, too.
That's true. Yeah, right. That's true, too.
But more importantly, Bill, what I would appeal to is our music industry and those wonderful musicians who often have multiple talents and multiple jobs, that if they're struggling, please do not hesitate to come to us.
Right.
Do not hesitate. Please come to us.
It's very sad. I know quite a few Broadway musicians and nothing. I know lighting techs and stage and set designers, and there
are so many people that have been affected.
Yeah.
This virus does not target anybody specifically. And because of that, anybody, people should know that there is no reason anyone should ever feel as if, there's not someone there to help. Even if I can't help you, I'm going to find out who can.
Exactly.
Because that's what human service is.
Right.
Yep.
And it's so frustrating. Like John said, we talk about these issues a lot. And our leaders have been talking about a $15 minimum wage for so long that it no longer $15 minimum wage is not enough.
It's not, but think about it, Bill. It beats what we're getting now.
Oh, I get that.
So,
when you think about the $6 federal minimum wage, it sounds a lot better. But yeah, exactly.
I think on Long Island we have such a unique challenge because of our demographic and because of the cost of living here. What we have here is not seen throughout the nation, which is lousy. There's no other word to describe it. But I think that, food pantries, food assistance programs, they're supplements. If they can help people, coupled with their income to get what they need to sustain and to live a happy, healthy life, then people should utilize that. Well,
there's another thing, too, is that people need to realize that they don't have to be totally destitute to come.
Correct. Anybody in need, no matter who you are, where you live, how old you are, it doesn't matter. Exactly. Anybody in need can access the services of a food pantry, soup kitchen, sheltered program, any services provided by Long Island Cares or any nonprofit for that matter. Anybody in need can have that. And what's very good, and I'll use that PhD right now, John. What's very good about Long Island is there's about, if I remember, I can do it as of a couple of years ago. There's about 9,000 different charitable programs on Long Island. Google it, 211. Wow. So there are so many different entities for service and support for people in need, which is great, right? So people should know. Yeah. Whatever it is, just ask.
Yeah, that's exactly. There's strength in numbers, and there's, again, the benefit of knowing that, like you said before, we're not alone. Again, you might just see your neighbor. You might be, at the same food pantry that you're at. Again, there's no judgment. We're all just people just trying to get through day by day, take care of ourselves, our families, our community. So, like I said, it's great to see that. And I know you mentioned the trucks before. You have programs, I think, for kids, like the asparagus truck, I think, things that keep it friendly, keep it light, like you said, try to have an atmosphere that's welcoming and warm. It goes a long way. It goes a long way. I know a lot of people who deal with, kind of traditional social services and agencies, obviously, no disparaging against them, but at the same time, they deal with it and feel like, oh, I'm just a number. I'm just, I don't really have any connection to them, but that's not the same. I think what happens with these types of community nonprofits where, it's the same people. It's, Jessica, it's whoever you see at that Freeport distribution site. They're there mostly every week. There's the site manager. They're, right. You're having jokes. You're knowing people. You're caring about them, finding out about them. And it again, like I said, it isn't an ideal situation by any means, but it's a really good thing to see, how much again good can come out of a little bit of darkness here that we're obviously dealing with and trying to manage. So thank you so much again, Jessica. Yeah. It's really been great talking with you. And like I said,
one other thing.
Of course, please.
Yeah.
So the Nest does phenomenal work, and we were approached not too long ago to bring one of our mobile units to the campus for some of your transitional students. So we'll be there on the 9th from 1 to 3, right to the left of the Life Sciences building. So if anybody is in need of emergency food, please come and visit us, and we'll be happy to give you a bag of food to take home.
No, that's terrific.
Better than I could. Thank you so much. Again, we know that, again, myself having dealt with the Nest for a number of years now and having done those pickups at mostly Elmont and, pulling away with my mother and just having to be a part of our life and, giving back to the community and just being a part of it. It's such an important organization, and we're happy to see that you guys are continuing to meet the needs here. And definitely, please go find out more. Again, if you've missed it, what you just said, you can see it on social media. I'm sure it'll be posted. We'll post it again. So that you can, if you need, again, some additional services, they'll be there, like she just said, right near on the campus rather. So thank you again, Justin. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. And we look forward to hopefully talking to you again down the road about these.
We always try to get our guests to promise to come back. So, and if there's anything you ever want to say, get in touch with us, and we'd be glad to have you on.
Yeah, the perspective.
I think you're doing great things. It's fantastic, everyone, and I hope the numbers stay manageable. I can imagine. I mean, your eyes must have gone wide when you saw the difference between like now and before the pandemic.
It's been a very busy couple of months. But, our staff are warriors, man. They really are. They are. And, I never doubt it. Every single person at this building, at this organization, we know why we're here.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, no. We see
there's no other place I'd rather be.
Right.
Yep. That's important. Yeah. How many people can say that about where they work? That's a whole other question, but it's good to see that that's the case. We see those videos that, I know the Long Island Cares social media platforms. I know Paul Patcher, I believe. I know I see his social media, and there's lots of great content there.
Awesome.
He's always out there. I appreciate always looking at his feeds and stuff like that, and just seeing what you guys are doing on the day to day, and the assembly line, or kind of just adapting and just having some fun with it, and
adapt and overcome, John. That's it.
Exactly. And turn into actions. Exactly. So, all right. Again, Jessica, thank you so much.
Really good.
Day, guys.
You
thank
do
you so
too.
much for the call.
Yep. Be well.
Thank you.
Holidays.
And take care.
Take care. Hopefully talk soon. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow.
All right. Good stuff, Bill.
But they got their work cut out for them.
Oh God. Yeah. It is.
I don't know. It's really cool to think that, they're right there. They're talking to the families, and, they really can have their fingers on the pulse of what's really going on in a community.
Of course.
We get news blurbs that say, everything is hunky-dory or everything is this. But when you go out there and you start looking, they're the ones that see in real life.
It's like when we talk about the, Bureau of Labor Statistics with unemployment. It's absolutely, it's a number. It's like the stock market. It went up this much. It went down this much, proportional year over year. But what does that mean to the people who are like, no, I'm not just a statistic. I'm a person. I have a family. Yeah. I have concerns. I have anxieties. I have fears. I have needs. I have desires, like anyone else does. But to know that, of all the things in the society that has so much, I'll say opulence, has so much abundance at times and excesses, to still have people who are, in the basic need of a meal is pretty amazing.
I think that's almost the surreal part of it, is to look at the pristine villages and towns on Long Island, and the manicured lawns and the landscapers, and then to see the line of cars at just one food bank, watching people line up. That took my breath away when I saw, I think it was News 12 or one of the shows was showing the line of cars. I couldn't believe it.
No, it's ubiquitous B-roll now. It's just it's this kind of quick action, of this whole line walking down it, or the drone shot, and it always seems to be the same, and it just speaks that the need has always been there, and now the hope is, at least from my perspective, that since there's so much attention and spotlight on this issue, that it won't just be forgotten. We all want the pandemic to be over. We all want the vaccine to work and have everyone be back to normal. As we say. But at the same time, you don't want to say people say, "Oh, well, that's done with, so don't worry about food anymore. Don't worry about food insecurity. Don't worry about this, that, and
I don't want to. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I'm going to go with human nature.
I mean,
I think they're going to be around for a long time.
I hear you. I think human nature is a little bit of a flawed logic in argument, because I think that sometimes it's constructed and people say, "Oh, well, it's human nature." So politicians say, "All right, well, I don't need to fund it then." It's always going to be that way. But that's a whole other story for another day.
Yeah, I just think they. Well, again, and that's what she was talking about was, when a program that's been created is publicized, oftentimes it's just for the political. The political push. When you actually look at the program and see what it is or isn't doing, which is cool, because Long Island Cares, being on the front lines, is the one that tweaks those programs. It's a great program, but you need to do this.
Well, that's the thing.
You need to do that.
The electeds get the press op out of it. They get the photo op. They get what they need out of it. They get the credit for saying, I am taking action. I'm doing something. I'm not just sitting on my hands saying, I don't know what to do. Anybody?
Right.
They go to the agency that says, we know what to do. We've been asking all this time, please, help us, help people. And now, out of desperation or whatever reason, again, there had been existing, kind of connections there. But now more than ever, I think that they're in a position of power and leverage in these discussions to say, listen to me again, like, unless you want this to be, part of the legacy that, okay, maybe, you made a little bit of a dent, but then all of a sudden it went back the other way or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Then please help us. We're not doing this for any reason but to help the people that we see every day, and that the other partner agencies do. So that was a good.
Well, and I actually forgot that Harry Chapin's birthday is December 7th.
Yeah, obviously I wasn't aware, but it is a nice little crossover with her anniversary at the company there.
Mine is December 8th. So,
okay.
Now I'll remember Harry's birthday.
So there you go. So we're going to have a birthday wish next time we're on air together.
Yeah, but, the birthdays keep coming. I can't stop them.
Well, that's a good thing. I don't think we want to. So, like I said, but like I said, it's a fascinating conversation. It is a crazy time, as we've, obviously discussed plenty this year. And I don't know. It's just good to connect with both the elected leaders and the people who are in these positions that have a lot of responsibility, and know that also these agencies have people who are level-headed and trying to, like you said, be the cooler heads that prevail, while everyone rightfully is saying, well, the world's on fire. What do we do? Running around in circles. They say, well, I can't necessily put out the whole fire, but I can at least make this a controlled burn.
I can do something. Yeah.
I do something. Yeah. So. All right. I'm not going to have a lot of time for anything too much else. I think we're right about there. We have a few minutes of probably us having to get cut out before anyway. So, like I said, I think we'll wrap here. We'll talk more. There's a lot of other news that was breaking this week. Things about property taxes being frozen. We'll follow up with that next week. So stay tuned. Follow the social media at LI News on Twitter. And you can find us on Instagram now and Facebook and wherever else you can. So go ahead.
There you go. All right. And so... have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on 90.3 WHPC.